The very fulfillment of the Feast of Tabernacle is when the actual thing will become a real thing. We will tabernacle with Yeshua HaMashiach.
Amen.
We will be with him, and we will have his presence with us, and we will be worshiping the King. So I hope I'm trying to show you the feast in the natural and bringing them into the supernatural. I didn't want to do Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, but I'm concentrating on the Feast of Tabernacles. Now, the whole celebration was absolutely magnificent. I want you to visualize what was happening here. I'll just read a little bit more here. And it shall be that whosoever will not come up, all the families of the earth in Jerusalem, to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. So there was a condition. Yeah. Those that came up, the Lord would give them rain. He would give them a blessing. Yes. Because this was the harvest time. They needed the rain. Yes. Because without the rain, they would have no crops. And God couldn't provide for them. So he's going to provide even the rain. So he told them that they had to come up. And if the families of Egypt go not up and come not, they have no rain. They shall be a plague, wherein the Lord will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. So in Zechariah 14:16 through 9, it tells us that there will be a punishment if they do not keep the Feast of Tabernacles. But let me tell you how joyous this feast is. Amen. In Ezekiel 37:26, the Lord will establish his tabernacle in Jerusalem. When he comes and his feet touch the Mount of Olives, it will split in two, and we as his believers and the Kadoshim, the saints, will come back with him, and all the world will come every year to appear before the King and worship him. Amen. Now I want to explain the feast. I'm not finished yet, my brothers and sisters. Okay. The meaning of Sukkot, it was a feast of tabernacles. It was a time during the harvest, and it was a celebration of great joy. The joy was twofold, because it commemorated God's goodness and his provision during the wilderness. When they were in the wilderness, God gave them his goodness and his presence. And there are some things that they carry. It's a lemon, which is a citrus fruit, which is an escron. They carry the louv, which is willows, and they wrap it. There are three branches. There's the palm, there's the willow, and there is the myrtle. And they wave it. Now, people do not go up to Jerusalem anymore, so people in your neighborhood may be carrying these long branches, and they wrap it around with a gold thread, and they carry a citron, which is called an estron, which is a citric fruit. Okay, those are symbolic, but I want to bring you back to the real thing, what they did, okay? They would put the palm tree, the palm branches, they would put the willow, and then they would put the myrtle. Now, I'm going to talk about the palm, okay? Yeshua HaMashiach came marching into Jerusalem on a Palm Sunday. Yes. And he was waving the palms because they were worshiping the King. And they were reciting a certain psalm which said, Hosanna in the highest, yes. Save us, yes. Amen. We're talking about the fulfillment of the Feast of Tabernacles, when Yeshua HaMashiach comes riding on the donkey into Jerusalem, and everybody, even to the babes on the mother's lap, were singing Hosanna in the highest, waving the palms. So that was one of the fulfillments of the Feast of Tabernacles. Amen. Now I want to explain the ceremony that the priests had. Okay, we had each day of the 7 days, 1 goat, 14 lambs, 2 rams, and a number of bullocks, 13 on the first day, descending each day until it got less, were offered at the temple. Each of the sacrifices was offered with a meal offering, which was flour and oil, a drink offering, which was wine, and all of the 24 priests shared in the sacrificial duties during the week. Now they had to go into the field and they had to cut these willows. And they brought these willows back, and they were very long. And they would wave the willows, and the willows would make a whispering sound. Okay, and then they would have a water pouring celebration. The water pouring celebration, the priest would have a golden vessel, and he would dip it in the pool of Shiloh and get the water, and he would pour it, because that was symbolic. They were praying for the fall rain. They needed the rain. Now, in his other hand, he had the basin, and he had to pour it on the altar. And he raised his hand really high as the people said, "Save us." So here you have the water pouring. Now, the water pouring, praying for the rain, is symbolic of Ruach HaKodesh. Amen. And I'm going to read some scriptures that tell us about that, because, amen, I'm getting a little confused here. Okay, the water, okay. They recited Psalm 118, and as they were reciting it, they were saying, "Hosanna in the highest." Now, let me explain the temple. There was a water gate. Now, we think of Nixon and we think of the Watergate, but there was a real Watergate in the tabernacle in the wilderness. The high priest with the water from the pool of Shiloh reached the south gate of the temple. It was known as the Watergate because of this outpouring of the water, which was a ceremony. As he entered, there were 3 blasts of a silver trumpet and sounded from the temple, and the priests with one voice and one accord, they recited the words from Isaiah 12:3, which our sister Linda played on the piano. "Therefore, with joy you will draw water from the wells of salvation."